Despite there being so many FNaF games being released over the years, many fans still consider that the first one in the series is still the best. Now you might wonder as to why that is the case, and rightfully so. There are also other entries that could perhaps have achieved that title as well, namely being FNaF 2, for having such a fun and interesting gameplay loop, FNaF 4 for being the scariest installment in the series, or FNaF 6 having the most diverse tasks and the best ending in the series. Even though these three named games stick out of the rest, they still can't compete with the first one in my opinion, and here is why. The gameplay is simple yet effective. You are stuck in a cramped office with only 2 doors to defend you from the incoming threat. This helps the tension being built up tremendously, since you have to let the animatronics come up really close on a regular basis. You are also given security cameras to spot the animatronics, as well as lights to ensure you are closing the doors at the correct time. This combination of gameplay mechanics is unique, since all of them play a huge role in your survival. However, the big problem is the fact that you only have a limited power supply to go with for the whole night, which makes you second guess a lot of choices that you make throughout your playthrough. For example, closing the door at the wrong time could lead to your demise, because you wouldn't have enough energy for the later hours of the night. This helps create a sense of fear and dread, and is a genius way to scare the player with the implementation of game mechanics, since it is not meant to be scary but is horrific due to its context of being helpless in a tense situation. This is true perfection in my opinion. No other installment captures this creativity afterwards that Scott had in 2014. You definitely cannot talk about Five Nights at Freddy's without mentioning lore and story. After all, this is the game that started it all. What immediately comes to mind is Golden Freddy's appearance in the office of the protagonist. Now I think Therese, almost next to no secrets that had the same, or at least similar reputation as Golden Freddy or Yellow Bear, if you know what I mean. Furthermore, there are quite a lot more secrets this game had to offer. However, sadly, it didn't introduce mini-games, which I was very certain it did for some reason. The story was yet to be told, but that was what made it special, because the only lore you could use was from the tapes of the phone guy, who dies in Night 4. Still, there were many little Easter eggs scattered around which helped to build the foundation of the lore. FNaF 1's use of visual and audio design is phenomenal. Here is why. The player starts off in the office of the building, which looks completely left and decayed. The only source of light is the light bulb, which is hardly hanging from the ceiling, and only covers certain parts of the interior. The posters in front of you only add to the uncanny feeling that is felt within this room. The Celebrate poster is, however, the most disturbing one. It depicts the main cast in a rather neutral setting without the intent of scaring you. However, in the given context, it is rather weird seeing them in this position while being actively hunted down by them at night. The fan is the only object within the room that sets itself apart, mainly through the noise that it makes, which I will later cover. Looking left and right, you will only view darkness that could be hiding your demise. The one thing I dislike is the design of the light and door buttons. They don't really fit into the scheme that is set by all the other props within the room. But they do not ruin the atmosphere that is being felt. Of course, you cannot talk about the design without mentioning the animatronics featured in this game. The originals are definitely one of the best, and it is not even close at all. They capture that uncanny feeling of real-life animatronics that Scott wanted to achieve because of his reviews on his old game. Surprisingly, Scott did even better in his sound design for FNaF 1. The fan that I previously mentioned earlier is heard throughout the whole night. But also many others, like Fox's footsteps towards your door. The sound cue that is played when you catch an animatronic at your door. Or Freddy's sinister laughter that follows you everywhere, no matter the situation. All of these audios create together a not only suspenseful but also dreadful atmosphere for the viewer, since they were so heavily modified. Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was perfect, because of its simple yet horrific gameplay loop, audio, character design, and the haunting atmosphere. It didn't suffer from missing content, but rather profited from it due to its original and simplistic feeling. While other games like FNaF 2 suffer from the chaotic environment, due to the great character roster, that made it rather difficult than disturbing. FNaF 1 takes the focus to the chilling atmosphere, by its design and gameplay loop, to make for the best horror experience, up to date.